Are you fascinated by true crime stories that hit close to home? Then you need to check out the gripping new book, Allegedly, True Crime from Pontotoc County, Oklahoma. From vigilante justice in the Wild West to headline-grabbing trials of the last few decades, Allegedly uncovers the dark secrets lurking beneath the surface of the community. In Pontotoc County, Oklahoma, with over a dozen cases, there's something for every true crime aficionado. Available now in ebook, paperback, and traditional hardback at your favorite online store like Amazon, Books A Million, and Barnes & Noble, or your favorite library app. To find a retailer, go to ravenrollins.com. Don't miss your chance to read Allegedly, True Crime from Pontotoc County, Oklahoma.
In each of her many books, New York Times bestselling author Marta McDowell investigates how plants and gardening have influenced some of the most prolific writers in crime fiction, including Beatrix Potter, Emily Dickinson, and Laura Ingalls Wilder, as well as a historical overview of landscaping at the White House in her book, All the President's Gardens. She just released her 6th book, Gardening Can Be Murder, How Poisonous Poppies, Sinister Shovels, and Grim Gardens Have Inspired Mystery Writers, which focuses on the role of gardening in murder mysteries. You can find it wherever you get your books, like Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
From chilling novels and psychological thrillers to horror short stories, film and screenplays, to true crime, podcasts, music, and the art of storytelling itself, Dreadfully Yours invites listeners into conversations with the minds behind the stories that stay with us. Hosted by author, audiobook narrator, and podcaster Raven Rollins, each chapter blends cinematic narration with intimate discussions exploring creativity, suspense, and the human experiences woven into dark storytelling. Welcome to the show, where stories linger long after the last page. This is Dreadfully Yours.
I did kind of want to ask you what you did before writing.
Absolutely. So I worked in a corporate job for 21 years.
Oh,
I worked
wow.
for Prudential. I did a lot of writing for them. I did a lot of training. I was in the systems department, so programmer training. I hate to, this is going to peg my age, but we introduced the personal computer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
makes history
exciting.
come alive.
That's
Yes,
amazing.
Yes. No, my favorite story is like when somebody asked me, what's a space bar? I said, press the space bar. They said, what's a space bar?
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Like something from Star Wars.
That's awesome. So you were writing for them. Is that just kind of where you kind of found a love for writing and just wanted to write what you wanted to?
Yeah, and I was an American Studies major in college, so I wrote a lot of really big term papers.
Yeah, I bet.
And so I always like to write, and I like to write about weird topics, which the American Studies is a great degree because you can just basically study anything with the word American in it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so, then, I don't know, I gardened and I bumped into Emily Dickinson and that seemed really cool. And then I was like.
So you do talk about your own gardens a lot in your books. And so I was just kind of wondering, like, you talk about them, but you talk about them kind of in the present. So I was wondering how far back your love of gardening goes. Were you always a gardener as a kid? Did you grow up with a gardener? Tell us.
No, my parents both grew up on farms. I think they pulled too many weeds as kids. My grandfather and one of my great aunts, they were both great gardeners. So I learned from them. And my parents, we lived in the suburbs. So their idea of gardening was mow the lawn, maybe like plant a 6-pack of begonias every spring. It was like really minimalist, keep the bushes trimmed. So when I got my own place, I was in my 20s. And so I had a little bit of little bit of a yard and I started flower gardening. And so that's where it all started.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. Their definition of gardening is kind of my definition of gardening. I like to say I have a garden, but no.
It's okay.
I do have inside plants. You ask Mandy.
Well,
yes, I've got one big window. It's like the biggest window in my living room. And I know nothing about plants, anything. And I got several like indoor plants, at least they told me that they were indoor plants. And they have somehow like, they're almost like 7 feet tall, some of them now, because I have an aquarium and I thought, I'm not going to waste this water, right? I'm going to give it the aquarium water, and it's just doubled. Like all of them are just huge.
Oh my God.
It's insane.
Can I use that? That's great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, I will tell you, Raven, that you buy fish emulsion in a bottle to give to as plant food. And so what you're doing is like super creative. It's like, you don't have to buy this. Just take the stuff out of your fish bowl. That's brilliant.
Do you also love murder mysteries?
Oh, I do. So that came first.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. So, I was the youngest of 4. So my brother's the oldest. He had Hardy Boys. So I read all his Hardy Boys, right? Then my sisters had Nancy Drews. I read all their Nancy Drews. They'll probably tell you I ruined them. And then, we were a library family. So we go to the library once a week, and I always love mysteries. And, you eventually graduate to the adult room. You go out of the kids' room, you get to, go where the big people get books. And, so then eventually I get to, I don't know, I started reading Daphne du Maurier, Phyllis Whitney, and then, of course, Agatha Christie. And then I've always loved murder mysteries. My mother liked mysteries, so when they started coming on to, like, Masterpiece, like the local public station.
Masterpiece Theater.
Yeah, they started these British mysteries with like the Edward Gorey, animation up front. We watched all of the, I grew up on that stuff. So, this was kind of like, this will be fun,
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, it's so creative in the way that you married those two, the gardening and the murder mysteries together. It's so fascinating. And you have in your book, you've got it all like broken up in these different categories. And I find it really interesting because Mandy and I are writers as well. Of course, we're mostly true crime, but I am exploring getting into murder mysteries because, I mean, how far off is that from true crime? And I was like reading through this thing going, you know what? This is a really good teaching tool. Because you can go through here and look at, let's learn a little bit about this, poisons and all this other stuff. And it makes me wonder, because I think I saw somewhere in your background, and you said you were teaching, you teach landscape history and horticulture, right, at New York Botanical Gardens. Okay, so I'm like, did you think about this as a teaching tool? As you were going along, is that why you kind of structured it the way that you did?
No, it's that would be a good reason. But, I normally write books about people, right? So you write about a person. I wrote about Laura Ingalls Wilder. Cool. So, and her connection to nature. So you start when she is born, right? And maybe her parents, right? And then you go until she dies. And so it's got a normal arc, right? A natural arc. I wrote about the White House garden. So you write about, start with George Washington and you go up to, who's ever the president at the end. The end of my book, it happened to be Obama. So, that was normal, natural. Then I get to murder mysteries. I want to do this mashup. This will be fun. How do I make a skeleton for it? Pun intended. How do I have a structure so that I can hang all, I read like 100 books and short stories to make up this. How do I make it make sense so that it doesn't just sound like I'm wandering around in a stack of books? So, That's the reason it got we have motive and we have means and we have opportunity and we have, suspects and detectives. So that just gave me like an outline to work from.
I don't know why. I mean, obviously we've never met before, but somewhere in my brain, like after reading some of the book, the way I think of you in my brain is like Professor Sprout now from Harry Potter. I'm like, we're going to go interview Professor Sprout today.
Yeah, that's all right. I like that. I absolutely like that. So may I tell you a true crime story related to this?
Absolutely, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I had just started on this project, and you tell people, oh, I'm working on this, and somehow the word got to a woman who used to live around here that I knew, who had moved to Vermont. And she called me out of the blue and she said, can I talk to you? Do you have like 10 or 15 minutes? I said, sure. It's nice to hear from you. And she said, well, I moved to this retirement community called Wake Robin. You can look it up. I think it's in Vermont. And she said, after I got here, there was this sudden outbreak of people with really awful, gastric problems that would have to be rushed to the hospital.
Oh, no.
And, someone at the hospital got suspicious and started doing some tests on these patients and then called the cops because they found something called ricin.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Right. Ricinus is from the castor bean plant. And it turned out that one of the residents had read about ricin, which, appears in the newspapers once in a while.
Yeah.
So, bioterrorism. Yeah. And she saw these big plants that were growing around their community as like an annual, because they're very showy. And she picked seeds and scraped them off and decided to put them in those little coffee pods and hand them out to her neighbors, as samples, and see what happened.
Just see what happened. People are wild.
Yeah. It's a true story. It's in the news, so you can find it. But so I thought about including that in my book, but I decided not to go with true crime because then you get into all sorts of other things. And so I was really concentrating on fiction, but I thought, wow, that is really interesting.
Yeah, that definitely would open a whole can of worms.
Yes.
There's a case that we've been following. Speaking of ricin, there's a case here in Oklahoma we've been following the last couple of years where this lady kind of did the same thing. She got into a fight with her neighbors. Her neighbors went to work. She snuck in. I have no idea where she got the ricin. I don't know if she I feel like it said she made it herself, but she snuck in and she was sprinkling this stuff in their their drawers for their undergarments so that they would put them on and wear them. And she got found out because one of them just happened to look in there and go, what is that stuff? It looks that's not supposed to be there. And called. They came out, checked it out, and sure enough, it was ricin. And I'm going, I haven't heard about people using ricin since the 70s or something. It's been such a long time, but it's still around apparently.
Yeah. Well, there was that big case was in London where some Bulgarian journalist got killed by, they think, a Russian spy with an umbrella tipped with ricin. It's
whoa.
Yes, it's been a while though.
Yeah, you mentioned that one in your book. And so my question is, because I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know what this plant looks like, but apparently it's just growing places and people have them. I think you mentioned that sometimes you have one in your garden. How do you handle a plant whose seeds can literally kill?
You don't plant them near your vegetable garden. So I always look at people when they've got them in the community garden. We've got one of these community gardens in town and you'll see it growing there and you go really? It's quite toxic. It's I can buy in the nursery any fall, they'll start having monkshood, which is this tall, showy blue flower. And you think, okay, that's fine, but they're really toxic and people should be just careful where they plant them. Most plants are not, it's not like the toxins are just going to go through your skin where you have to wear rubber gloves or something. Even this plant, I've got a plant behind me called a pencil plant, and it's a strange plant that's a succulent. It will give you a rash if you get the sap on your skin.
Yeah.
But that's true of poinsettias too, you know, and we all fill our house with poinsettias every holiday season.
Right.
It's the same plant family. So, some plants like poison ivy, well, you just don't want to roll around in that. But, they're plant defenses.
I think some of those, like poison ivy, that's obvious. Poison ivy is obvious, especially in Oklahoma, man. We all know poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac. We know it. But, there are some that, you're saying, these are just planted out in the world. And, I think isn't it the seed from the castor bean that the ricin comes from? So it's like, if your kids are squishing around on them, walking, whatever, animals, anything can get a hold of them. And I'm like, why are they planting these in public access places? That's just wild to me.
I will say the seeds are really big, right? So it's not like a kid's going to pick one up and accidentally swallow it or even want to chew on it. It's just giant thing.
That's good to know. I have no idea what the seeds look like. I should have Googled it.
The seeds are really big.
Maybe they just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, in one of the mysteries, it was by, or at least the author listed as Margaret Truman, who was Harry Truman's daughter, right? And so she wrote this capital crime series with the help of a ghostwriter. And one of them, actually, she uses ricin or castor bean seeds in it that she says, they substituted them for the espresso bean, that they'll sometimes put in espresso. And you go, well, not really, because the seed is 20 times bigger than an espresso bean. But okay, we'll give her that.
That's interesting. Wow. We do that stuff too. We're like, that's not quite how that crime would have worked out. But I just think that's so interesting because you say, I think I wrote a quote down here. Let me find it. Ricin is deadlier than rattlesnake venom. That's pretty bad. And my question is really there an antidote for ricin?
Yeah, not that I know of. That, I will tell you, I am not a scientist. So I have a cousin who's a PhD toxicologist.
Oh, wow.
Cousin by marriage. So he went through my whole chapter and made corrections on the poisons because, I just wanted to be sure that I wasn't going to fall in some hole that, somebody who knew more was going to go, well, that's not right.
Oh, so, I know how that goes.
Anyway, yeah. I thank Steve for that, even though he studies spider toxins, not plant toxins.
Oh, wow. Well, a good resource to have, though, for sure. Absolutely. Well, so that just makes it, and you have this whole thing for poisons. There's a whole chapter, there's a whole thing about poisonous plants and stuff in there. But that's not the only thing that you talk about that can kill people in this book. What are some other things that you talk about in this book? I know, but I'm gonna let you.
Thank you. The good setup. The very first book where the light bulb turned on, and I said, there are a lot of books, murder mysteries with plants and gardens in them, was a book called Mulch. And it was written by a Colorado writer named Anne Ripley. I don't think Anne's with us anymore, but she was a garden writer and she started writing mystery series. So, okay. Her first mystery that I came across was called Mulch, M-U-L-C-H, Mulch. And she set it in Washington, D.C. in the suburbs. And, she did something which happens in my neighborhood, which is in the fall, people will bag their leaves. It's very bizarre, but they put their leaves in these brown paper bags. And then the big ones. And then the town comes around and picks them up and takes them to, like, I don't know, some municipal compost area.
We do that here.
Okay. So in the book, she has her character wants some extra leaves to use as mulch. And so she goes around the neighborhood and picks up somebody else's bags, several people's bags, and she finds body parts in them. Right. So that's like how this all sort of starts. And, you know, a chainsaw is involved and, you know, some other power tools. But, you know, you go into like my garage, which is, you know, where I have my tools, and you look at what I use and you go, yeah, I could kill somebody with that with that and with that. I mean, they're sharp, heavy tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so people have used them. They absolutely have used them. Yep. In these mystery plots. Yeah.
You've got shovels. I mean, you've got, I don't know how many times I've seen somebody whack somebody in the face with a shovel, you know? And I was just thinking about, again, I think I'm trying to get away from the poisons, but I did want to mention, so Agatha Christie, they're starting to remake a lot of their movies. And so the author interview that we did prior to this was Recipes for Murder, which is a cookbook based on the food of Agatha Christie novels. And then I had, of course, yours, and you talk about Agatha Christie a lot, right? So I'm just like going down this Agatha Christie rabbit hole, and I never realized how much food and how much gardening there is in Agatha Christie. And they're starting to remake all of these movies. So I think, you know, you guys, you should read the books. You should watch the movies.
Oh, Agatha Christie's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's like every one of hers, there's either like they're describing this decadent food, or they're describing someone's garden. Like this last one was A Haunting in Venice. I'm not going to give anything away there, but that was like a whole thing with the garden. And then I'm like, it's like, you know, how when you buy a new car and you've never seen that car on the road, and then now you're seeing it everywhere. That's kind of how it was with this.
It's not an accident, because I think Dame Agatha liked to garden and she liked to eat. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, so you write, you know,
Preach.
People say, oh, well, you write about what you know, right? So, yeah, I'll write about food and plants. That'll be fun. Someone should do, if they haven't already, they should do like an Agatha Christie mixology, you know, like where you have the mystery and then you have the drinks recipe, too.
She did include,
that's pretty cool.
Her name is Karen Pierce. She did include a little section in the back of some drinks that they talk about, but it's not like, she mostly focuses on the food, but it was very fun. We cooked some stuff. It was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was so interesting. And I mean, it got me wondering, some of these plants, you know, and again, no spoilers here, but some of these plants are so dangerous. I'm wondering if you came across any that have been like outlawed for growing or anything like that.
Well, you know, opium poppies, I grow a lot of them. And, you know, I guess the product that is extracted from the poppy, you know, it's the seed pod that is, you know, the sap from the seed pod that's extracted for heroin and all these other things.
Oh, Lord.
You know, it's not illegal to grow them as far as I know.
That's insane. That is crazy talk.
Yet. They're really pretty, you know. They come up every year because they self-sow. I love that kind of plant. So yeah,
well, and we
absolutely.
had all the, and you even talk about this in the book, where, and this was a thing. I thought that it was a complete wives' tale, but you even talk about like the poppy seeds and how it would make you test positive on a drug test.
You know, I was told that by a nurse practitioner. And so I have no reason to doubt it. You know, I was doing a drug test for a job interview. It was for a gardening job. And she said, yeah, you haven't had any, you know, poppy seed bagels, have you? And I said, no. Why?
Yeah, it does trigger it.
That is
Amazing.
wild. Like
Yeah.
you know how people talk. And so I was like, I don't know. Small town Oklahoma. I think you're just making
true.
stuff up. Well, that's
Like
crazy.
rhubarb, right? I love rhubarb. I grow it in my garden, and yet it was used in a murder mystery with like a concentrated rhubarb leaves, used
goodness.
as a toxin. So, you go, well, lots of things are toxic in enough quantity.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And there's a lot of these plants that, like you mentioned, the opium poppy, that is just like, there's so many uses. People have so many uses for it. And one of them obviously was opium back in the day.
Yeah.
Which there's so much written about that. Like, we can just start with like Sherlock Holmes. Like, so much revolved around that, like London underground of like opium dens and stuff like that. And you talk a lot about that in the book as well. And I just found that part really fascinating.
Yeah, how could you do a Victorian, novel set in London, the London, sort of the dark side of London without having the opium dens appear?
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, that's just, it's really interesting because you don't realize, it almost sounds like some of these things are made up. It's like, there's no way they could really do that. Right. But yeah, they can. I have a little portion here where you had mentioned some fictional plants. And I was wondering, because obviously, I mean, you didn't elaborate on that. I think that in your mind, that was probably the same as like the true crime. You open up a whole new can of worms there. But I was wondering if maybe you had a fascination with fictional plants, or is it just real plants?
Well, I guess I prefer real plants, although I have a certain fondness for things like Audrey 2 and Little Shop of Horrors, right? And I do like science fiction, and sometimes they'll like verge off into strange plants from other worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly I stick to real plants because I like growing them. So, why make them up when there are so many bizarre plants already on the planet?
If you could grow one fictional plant, what would it be?
Oh. Something, let's see, that would produce ready-made chocolate. I know there's a chocolate plant, cacao, but
That's
you
a
gotta
good choice.
I wanted to have like chocolate like that. I just go pick my little chocolates and eat them. And have the chocolate orchard, not have to process it and all that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So maybe I want like the Wizard of Oz, right?
Oh, yeah.
Candyland. I played too much Candyland as a kid.
Candyland. I missed that game. I played that all the time when I was young.
So I was wondering, so you explore famous works and authors who have used a garden in some way in their mystery storytelling. I kind of wanted to know about your favorite authors that you've included in this book, because you have a whole mess of authors in here, but who are some of your favorites?
Absolutely. So I came across a lot of new ones. One thing that was strange about this book was it was kind of crowdsourced by accident. So when I would tell people, I'm writing this book about plants and gardens and murder mysteries, murder mystery fans would like bubble up and they'd go like, oh, how about this one? And how about that one? So one that was recommended to me was called Death in the Garden. That was, a giveaway.
Oh, yeah.
By Elizabeth Ironside, that's a pen name. So that was fun to find her.
I love that name though.
Yeah, isn't that great? Then Ellis Peters, I just love her books. They're about a 12th century Benedictine monk in England, and so it's a lot of history. And he's the herbalist for the monastery, and so he works in the herb garden. Of course, I love Agatha Christie. I read all of Sherlock Holmes' Actually, I remember we were going from New Jersey to Illinois, where my mother's family lived, and one summer I just read all the way across in the backseat.
Oh, wow.
Sherlock Holmes.
That's awesome.
And yeah, what else? Oh, so lately, and these weren't gardening, although there was like one garden in one of them. There's a new series by Richard Osman that starts with the Thursday Murder Club, and they are absolutely hilarious.
Oh, I've heard of that. I'm gonna have to get into that one.
So much fun. So much fun. Yeah, and Naomi Hirahara, she writes, these really interesting series, but one of them is based on a character that's based on her father. So that was super fun.
Wow.
Yep. So anyway, lots and lots of murder mysteries out there and tons of fun finding them.
Have you found that you have anything in common with these authors? Maybe you've gotten some like inspiration or something from them for your own garden?
Well, it sure made my husband nervous. Speaking of inspiration, I'm like reading all these like ways to kill people.
It should. He should be nervous. Mine is nervous constantly.
Let's see. Trying to think of it. Did I add anything to my garden? I killed some monkshood. I tried that. It didn't like my garden. Gardeners kill a lot of plants. So, if anybody's listening who's not a gardener and goes, "Oh, I kill things," gardeners kill loads of plants. They just keep buying more. That's the secret.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's true. That's a true story. I don't know how many I've killed so far, and I have just an inside houseplant garden. I'm working on it.
Don't give up.
So where was your inspiration to maybe make this connection between gardening and literature? Like, where did that epiphany come from? Where were you like, oh, I should write about that?
No, I remember the day.
Oh.
I was actually on a business trip. I was driving to visit insurance agencies, right? It sounds really charming. And it was fine. But I was driving across Massachusetts, for a week.
Oh,
and
wow.
I had an open afternoon. And so I just I was at a rest area on the interstate. I pick up a brochure for the Emily Dickinson, I think it was called the Emily Dickinson Homestead. And I went up there, and I was the only person visiting that afternoon. And I found out that she was a gardener. And I kind of never understood her poetry. I had studied it some in college and high school even. But she's a little strange. But I don't know, that just like maybe it went ding, ding, ding. And so I started, doing research and writing a little bit about her. And then I wrote my first book about her. And then it was like, well, okay, I've done this. What am I going to do next?
That's awesome.
So I kept doing it. So this is like book number 6. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Have you found any like metaphors or like secret meanings when it's in like literature associated with gardens? Like when they write about it, are they writing, about something else?
Well, we all associate gardens with paradise, right? So we're all trying to get back to the garden, back to nature. People use like the kind of the meaning of flowers, that whole Victorian thing,
right?
We feel like roses mean something. I mean, even in the series Breaking Bad, right? There was this whole bit about Lily of the Valley, and it would appear, and then eventually it it rolls into the plot. So yeah, absolutely. Their sinister side comes out as well.
Do you think that, because you do write a lot about, 19th century, 20th century, do you think that gardening has changed vastly or a little, or anything that's changed about it from then to now?
Well, lately we've had this comeback of indoor plants, right? You talked about that,
yes.
But there was like when I was growing up, so I grew up in the 60s, what we had in our house that looked like plants were plastic, right? It was all plastic flowers, plastic this. Then like the end of the 60s, my sisters were in college. They started coming home with big house plants, right? All of a sudden. that was really popular for a while, and that kind of all went out. And then, what was it, like around the 2000s, people started being interested in houseplants. And now, oh my God, it's like the blogs and the interest groups and the podcasts, and so much about indoor plants. I think that maybe, people did more vegetable gardening in the 19th century. Again, that kind of went out of style. Even the White House, they grew vegetables. And then by the time you get up to people like, FDR, they grew like mint for the iced tea. That was about it. And then that has come back again to some degree. So, it's interesting. It's like any other style. It has cycles.
In and out, yeah. I can remember my mom has always been into houseplants. I don't think she was ever, I don't think she cared about the trends. And I think that's where I get it. I was like, I gotta have, my whole house just has to be filled with plants. But I love that. And I was also wondering, so I think I read somewhere, maybe in another interview that you did or something, that when you were doing your research for this one, it was during the pandemic. I know that you went and you visited a lot of these gorgeous other gardens that, you've written about, but how did that change for this book?
Yeah. Trust me, this one I wrote sitting at my desk. It's like, thank God for the library, because they would still get me books and, kind of put them out in the hallway in paper bags. I mean, you get ebooks, but I like to read a physical book still.
So unfortunately, this is where our interview ended, as the internet went down in our area and we got cut off from the rest of the interview with Marta. But we did only have one question left, so we got the bulk of our interview done there. And we very much enjoyed speaking with Marta, and we cannot wait to see what she does next. So Marta, thank you so much for being on with us today. Get Gardening Can Be Murder at a bookstore near you.
Thank you for listening to this chapter of conversations with some of our world's dark storytellers. This story may be over for now.
The next chapter is always waiting to be written.
Until then.
Dreadfully yours, Raven Rollins.